the Italian Football Podcast.
The first question is Conceicao, because Conceicao, already ahead of this game, there was talk that he was in the hot seat. Now there is a very, very big question. He risked the sack now, immediately. What happens? What do Milan do? The results have been worse under Conceicao, much worse actually than they were under Fonseca, which is incredible, really. And everything that I expected from Conceicao. Like, we knew his limitations at Porto. We knew that Porto maybe didn't create that enough, as an offensive outfit. Porto weren't the best, but we knew that. But Conceicao is fantastic at setting up a team, defensively solid, the team that fights for one another, never gives up. I mean, I think they had the record. I think he has the record in Portugal for most wins or points gained from losing positions or comeback wins or something along those lines. But a team that has a great spirit, but a team that is a team,
Well, I mean, I think
which it never was under Fonseca. And that was, I thought he would definitely bring that, but he hasn't. I mean, I think he
has. The comeback goals, the goals from behind that Milan have had, the equal. I mean, even Chukwueze yesterday with 10 men. I can't pin this on Conceicao because, as you said, I think he said, and we spoke about it, I think, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago, when they make such insane individual howlers that I don't know how you tactically, like, we can't talk.
They have done in many games, but I think
yesterday they definitely did.
Well, they did, but they were awful. They've been awful in these last two games as a whole. They haven't been a team in these last two games. They definitely weren't a team in here. There was no cohesion, no synergy. It was a team of individuals last night. It was a team that still lacked discipline. And it's a team that was getting cut open time and time again, especially in the first, all game. I'm honest, all game. Lazio had an XG of 2.9 in this game. You're not a team if you have an XG of 2.9. They were getting cut open time and time again. And the midfield is a joke, is an absolute joke. Fofana and Musa as centre midfield, they can't control a game at all. So the opposition will always dominate midfield when those two are playing. They can't build from the back. They're not very good in possession or passing the ball. But they're not even able to protect the defence either. They're getting cut through every single time. Now I don't really blame that on Conceicao, really, because those are the players he's got. But at least, like I said, at Porto, his teams were solid. They weren't getting cut through. They weren't conceding chances. And the last two games against Bologna and against last two games against Bologna and Lazio, we can't go back to the whole, it's blunders that are costing them, because yes, okay, they're still making blunders, but they would have been outplayed in these two matches.
They were outplayed yesterday, absolutely. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that, and Lazio are a very good side. I'm talking about the entirety of the Conceicao era so far. I don't see. I don't think that we can, looking at it as a whole, say that he has failed as much as this Milan squad is constructed so unbelievably poorly.
Well, yeah, and I want to come on to that in a minute about but what I guess my point is this. I expected Conceicao to come in and at least make them solid, at least make them hard to score against, at least make them,
fight more. And I think he
play
has
as a unit. Well, yeah, maybe he's made them fight a little bit, and they've scored late goals and everything. But the point is, they've not improved at all. The results have been far worse. The defence has even got worse under him, which is crazy. That the defence has got worse. They conceded more goals, more chances than they were under Fonseca, and they've completely, like you said, they're a complete freefall now.
It's a complete shit show.
And I'm not, like I said, like I'll come to in a minute. I don't even know whether I can blame that on Conceicao. I'm just saying that under Conceicao,
that's fair.
Things have got worse.
No, they have. I mean, I think it's like they put him there to stop the bleeding, but the problem is that the damage that was done to an artery, and putting a Snoopy Band-Aid on that, not going to work. This is such a poorly constructed team. The senators of the team are, I mean, Theo Hernandez for the first goal. Again, what is that? What is that for the first goal? Just look at how he defends before Zaccagni scores the rebound on the left-hand side. It's he plays. That is the kind of error you expect from a schoolboy, from someone who's 16, 17, who's not played first-team football. It's just unwatchable. And when you do that and you concede, it sends shockwaves through the team who are already mentally in a bad place. And everyone starts second guessing and insecurity spreads. And then you see the rest. And, Musa being taken off for Joao Felix is a technical decision in the 36th minute. Musa was not good. I think there were 3 players who got 4s or 4.5s in the ratings at Gazzetta yesterday. Teo was one, Musa was one, Jimenez was one, I think. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, the way that they were getting cut open was, I mean, there was, even before the goal, there was one when Dia was clean through and Manuel made a great save. Where you just think this isn't a team; it's just not a unit. There's no cohesion. The departments of the field were stretched all over the pitch, like massive gaps between the defence and the midfield, and the midfield and the attack. You just do not associate that with Conceicao teams. The Conceicao teams are always very compact. There's not much space between each department, which is how any top club should be.
And energetic and well organised and all of that. And while all of this is going on, the Curva Sud boycotted the beginning of the game, and then they were chanting, "Cardinale, piss off, Cardinale, you have to sell."
Throughout the entire game. Yeah. Whistles and boos. I mean, Conceicao said
the halftime boos were some of the loudest boos I have ever heard at the San Siro.
Yeah,
like it was a hurricane.
Well, it's like Conceicao said it in the game. Gabbia said it as well. Like, it's a very difficult environment to play in. It's difficult, So energy. Everything is energy, and when you've got just this negative energy, it cripples you, and it makes it very, very difficult, both physically, mentally, psychologically. You
have to be, but you have to have strong players.
Yeah,
you have to have strong players, and it's like mentally strong players.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Yeah. But I mean, that brings us on. I mean, there was a statement from the ultras before the game, and I want to read it out because it'll sum up kind of the discussion really right now about Milan moving forward and those that are running the club. And the statement, this is before the game, right? So it's even worse after the game. It's only early March, and our season is almost at its final chapter. 2 derby matches in the Coppa Italia and are your last chance to regain a shred of dignity or to certify your total failure. The blame lies clearly and unjustifiably with an entirely invisible ownership, with Cardinale being absent from Milan since September, which chose to eliminate a key figure like the sporting director, fundamental for building a competitive team and ensuring a constant and constructive presence at Milanello. Instead, they have entrusted Milan's image to collaborators. That's a director, that Ibrahimovic, that is, who have distinguished themselves solely through ridiculous disguises or interviews, cough speed, that go beyond absurdity.
However, cough GQ. Did you see and read that GQ interview? I am sorry. Yes, I think he was very stylish. I think he looked really good. He's always very well dressed. It was absolutely fantastic.
People not your job, though.
Yeah, but that's exactly it. I mean, some people said, "Oh, he looks like a Yugoslav."
You might as well go and
Lucius Malfoy. They said he looked like.
Yeah, but I don't care about that. You might as well
Lucius Malfoy, but I don't care about that. I think
you might as well dress like Zelensky.
The issue was the nonsense that he was spewing. Comparing Jerry Cardinale to the guy who they made the film Wolf of Wall Street about, who is a convicted criminal, by the way. I mean, the nonsense that he keeps spewing time and time again these ridiculous statements, and I noticed it already when I was in Milan last time I was in Milan in September ahead of the derby, that people were laughing at him in Milan for the first time ever. They just weren't taking him seriously. And this is something I wanted to bring up as well, because the mess that I think is here is that I think Zlatan has become a little bit unsackable, because Zlatan's role is with RedBird. He's a senior advisor at RedBird. And Zlatan is also a very rich man who has so far, to put it diplomatically, not excelled in business, whether it's vitamin drinks, betting, clothes companies. But he has a lot of money and a big portfolio to manage. And there are reports saying that he is an investor in RedBird. So if he's an investor at RedBird, and he's also, and I'm not saying that that is the case, but I've seen reports state that he has invested at RedBird, that he's a financial partner of Jerry Cardinale.
There's a conflict of interest there.
Yeah. If he's that, if that's true, and he's also a senior advisor to RedBird at Milan, that makes him virtually unsackable, and he's new at this job. This makes it an absolute perfect shitstorm.
Well, let me carry on.
I just don't know what to say.
Let me carry on the statement from the Milan Ultras, and this is the first time ever, by the way, that I've actually agreed with a statement from an ultra group. If I can say, the blame lies clearly and unjustifiably with an entirely invisible ownership, as I said, and who chose to eliminate a key figure like the sporting director, fundamental for building a competitive team and ensuring a constant and constructive presence in Milanello. Instead, they've entrusted Milan's image to collaborators who have distinguished themselves solely through ridiculous disguises or interviews that go beyond absurdity. This, however, cannot excuse the other key figures responsible for this disaster. The coach, who compared to his predecessor, has not changed the team's approach on the pitch to the slightest. If anything, he has deepened internal divisions with the poor results and lack of gameplay we all know. On Sunday, we will start leaving you alone by entering the stands only at the 15th minute, hoping that the rest of the stadium does the same, which is what happened. If we do not see significant changes in performance and above all in attitude, we will completely abandon you, leaving you alone with your shame. At the end of the season, a deep reset at the club will be necessary. The American model proposed so far has failed in every aspect. Strong decisions, major changes and structural reforms are needed. With a new leadership composed of real football experts, only then can the most glorious club in Italy be rebuilt with seriousness, bringing fans back to breathe the Milan spirit that you have destroyed in recent years. And I think that sums up all the key talking points.
That sums up everything,
all the key talking points, really.
Yeah, it really does.
I guess, which is what I'm coming to with Conceicao. Can we keep blaming the manager at Milan? Just like, can we keep blaming all the Man United managers of the last 10 years or all the Juventus managers of the last 5 years, when those running the club and the key departments in these clubs, and the incompetence in the key areas in these clubs, when they're failing and when it's so, everything is being run so badly, it becomes impossible on the pitch. The results on the pitch are a natural consequence of a failing club and a failing leadership. And I think that with Milan, I think that's clearly the starting point here. That's clearly the number one issue at Milan. The media, I'm sorry, I have to say this, but the media won't call out the likes of Cardinale or Zlatan when discussing Milan's problems because they have, a relationship with them. They grant them access. They're nice to them.
Access, yeah.
Access journalism is what you call.
Which isn't journalism.
But the fans are not stupid. The fans know that. That's why the fans are going after, Cardinale, Zlatan, the leadership. And I have good relationships with people at Milan. I'm not saying that.
Same,
I'm not saying that.
I have friends who work at Milan. I consider them friends. They're good people.
So I'm not blaming this on everyone. I'm not saying everybody at Milan is useless. I'm saying that from the top, it's not working. It's failing.
No, it's the fish rots from the head down.
Yeah.
This is not a medium level management issue. This is a ownership issue. Like we said last week, the issue at Milan is very clearly that since RedBird took over and got rid of Massara and Maldini, they have gotten every single decision which is related to the sporting side completely and utter wrong. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And there's no one steering the ship, really, that knows that, or there's no one qualified enough to to steer the ship at Milan right now.
I think the first thing to say is like was said in the statement. This model, this American model, has failed. I
And
mean,
then
I
I'm
know people
reading,
take the piss, but and this is exaggerated, but basing your strategy on a baseball movie is, that, that's, I'm saying that for comic effect, but it's true.
the thing
Like,
is,
American sports model is completely different. There's a lot about America that I wish we
yeah,
would learn from. You know,
like the revenue
the
streams,
revenue
the
streams,
marketings, the professionalism,
marketing number one,
yeah, communication.
yeah,
I don't know how many years we've done this pod, and yeah,
yes,
how many years have we
television.
done this pod, and how many times have I said that the American sports model, in terms of revenue and business, has won? It's won the award. The debate is over. Their way of doing business is the way to do it, and
Yeah,
if you want to succeed, and you have to follow that model,
yeah,
and that includes stadiums, that includes marketing, that includes communication, that includes sales, that includes everything, right?
yeah.
So that is absolutely
Organization as
organization,
well.
all of those things, right? But you can't just take one way of doing things in one sport and copy paste it to another in another country in a different, like, it just doesn't work. Um, that's the issue here. I mean, it's like, I know that they're involved with
It
the Yankees.
reminds me of. It reminds me of the time when the head coach of the England rugby team that won the World Cup for England at rugby, Clive Woodward, wanted to get into football, and he was just a complete disaster because he tried to bring over the things from rugby that worked in rugby. It's a different
Yeah.
sport. It's a different model. You can't just take over things that worked in baseball and bring that model over to the sporting side of things in football and think it's going to work. You need a sporting director in football. Milan have not had a sporting director this season, which is just insanity. You
And I'm
need
not
it.
sure Fabio Paratici is who I would bring
No,
in.
definitely not. No.
I mean, like, it's, and then I'm reading Cesc Fabregas as the coach. It's like, oh my god, my head.
Well, I think that Cesc Fabregas is going to be a big coach. I think he's fantastic, but yeah, he's not ready. But he's not ready for what's going on here. But I mean, listen, if we talk about it conceptually, not having a sporting director is one example of how the whole structure of Milan is has been flawed, and I think they're going to correct that, and they're going to bring in a sporting director. That's one example of the failed model. Then you have Zlatan in this position where he doesn't even have a title. He's some kind of unofficial
No, his official
advisor.
title is senior advisor to
Well, there you
RedBird.
go. Which is that a title? I don't call that a title, But okay, whatever. He hasn't really got a. I don't know what he. I still don't really know what he does. What executive power he has, if anything. He just seems to be used more as a marketing ploy. But that's not. He's not cut out to be. I know he's not officially a director, but he's just not cut out as a personality to be a director. Not being himself, which is what he's done at Milan generally. He's toned it down a little bit, but he's still being himself, like giving those interviews, coming off as this kind of, being that arrogant and individualistic. You can't be as a director. You can't.
The funny thing is, that's exactly what Scaroni said, who's actually one of the few competent people they've got. When they got rid of Maldini, that's exactly what Scaroni said. I remember because it really resonated with me. He said, they used to nickname me Stadioni because I was the one who was in charge of the stadium. But when RedBird came in, I realized that I had to be part of a team. Those are his words. And ironically, they got rid of Maldini and Ricky Massara because they weren't able to play in part of a team. And then you've since seen that this club is not a team at all. It's just everyone's doing their own thing,
Yeah.
on the pitch and off the pitch. I remember those quotes by Scaroni very vividly
Well,
because I
nothing.
thought they were very,
Yeah.
very
I mean,
apt.
nothing
It was
sums
very
it up.
telling.
Nothing sums up. And I tweeted this last night. Nothing sums up Ibrahimovic more. He'll never live this down ever. The rest of his career. When he did that interview with Speed, of all people, Don't get me started on Speed. In the taxi, and they played a game. First one to move is gay, and they sat in the taxi in Milan for 5 minutes, not moving, and that was Milan actually published that. And so this is Zlatan. This is what he's doing.
Senior advisor to RedBird.
He's doing interviews. He's playing these stupid games that we played when we were 4 years old. You know, you play when you're 4 years old, and he's playing that with Speed, a YouTube.
And his role is senior advisor at RedBird. Like, again, do you see, like, first of all, can you know, Javier Zanetti does lots of interviews for Inter, although he's the vice president, he has a much more ambassador role. Marotta, Ausilio, Bacin, even Antonello, or at Juve, even Giuntoli. Do you see them doing anything like that? Do you see anyone at any other club in that kind of a directorial role sitting with an influencer playing games? No, because you have to be serious.
No, you have to be serious. I mean, I do think there's a larger issue in Italian football as a whole, which isn't just Milan, in this kind of obsession with kind of producing viral, childish social media content. Juventus are doing a lot of it as well, which is driving me mad as well. They're not the only club.
But the boardroom shouldn't be involved.
This is an Italian problem. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was coming to. You know, if you are going to do this stupid, childish content, which doesn't do anything to help grow the club, I can tell you that for sure. You know, if you're going to hire naked chefs and all these idiots, then whatever. But you know,
the boardroom is involved.
Don't get your director involved.
I mean, this is what gets me. It's the boardroom that's involved. I don't know of any sports where the directors are doing these things, because they need to maintain some form of decorum and professionalism. That's where this is.
But I think that sums up.
That's why it sticks out as much as it does, because you've never ever seen in any professional sports anyone with a managerial role, any directorial role of any note, doing this kind of nonsense.
No.
At any sport, any league, at top level. You just don't see that.
No,
and there's a reason why you don't see that. People want to maintain their authority, because you don't take someone seriously when they make it.
And that's the whole point I've been making all season. It's the point I made about even with Theo Hernandez dyeing his hair pink. That this sums up Milan under this ownership this season in particular. That it's not a serious club. It's a circus. It's been a circus.
It really is.
It's been a circus. That's the whole point I made with Theo Hernandez. But there's obviously bigger problems than the colour of someone's hair. Of course there is. But it just is. It sums up where Milan are right now. And like the Ultras said, this model, it's failed, and it needs to. I mean, I don't know what the solution is. I guess the initial question we asked was, should Conceicao be sacked? Well, I think it's for certain that he's not going to be there next season. I think that's guaranteed. The question is it worth sacking him now between now and the end of the season? I guess that's the question. Should they bring someone in just to try and? I mean, I think I don't think.
Who would that be?
Well, I don't think. Well, I just kind of. I guess from Serie A point of view, it's pointless, because it's not. You can't rescue things now. It's not like you're 3 or 6 points behind. Like, say Juventus were to go lose a couple of games. That it might be worth it for Juventus to do it, because they want to bring someone in just for a jolt to try and get them over the line for the top four. Well, Milan, that's gone, so it's pointless. So really, you're bringing in someone what for? Just to maybe try and win the Coppa Italia, which isn't going to change the outcome of your season. So is it worth it? Is the point?
I don't know. At this point, I really don't know. I think it's just finish the season, and then everyone is under exam. Like, everyone is.
Well, I guess the bigger question is what happens with the ownership now. I mean, we know what the fans want.
Yeah, but he's not going to go anywhere. So he's not going to go anywhere. They're not going to go anywhere.
Well, what can he do to turn this around?
He can build an actual proper structure. He can bring in a sporting director with executive powers, similar to Marotta, similar to Giuntoli, similar to someone Sartori, whoever you want to use as an example. He needs to bring someone in, someone as a direttore tecnico, who with a sporting director working under him, similar to what they had under Maldini and Massara.
How about bring back Maldini?
It's not going to happen. He's never going to accept that. You think that Paolo Maldini's pride allows him to come back to Milan after that, after how he's been treated?
I would say,
It's,
I would say very, very unlikely. There's too many egos involved from both sides. But
it's Paolo Maldini.
yeah,
You literally took a shit on a person
no,
who is
I
as
agree.
close. It was as close to God in that club that you can get to. You completely
I
humiliated him
think Maldini also,
When you sacked him, you didn't. What was it? 11 words.
yeah, it was
I
embarrassing.
mean, what are you talking about? And this on the back of the first year where you extended his contract 10 minutes to midnight. Like, there's no. What are we talking about here? There's no way that he's going to do that. Like, he will have no authority, and if he were to do it, it's only out of love, which is again the wrong reasons anyway, because you want someone there to professional. Like, they need someone with experience, know-how, knowledge, who can steer a ship and steer a club of Milan's stature and find a role for Ibrahimovic, find a role for everyone, and get
Do
them
you keep
pulling in the
Zlatan
right direction.
Ibrahimovic? I mean, for me,
He's unsackable,
you
Carlo. He's unsackable.
well, he can keep his shares and just not be in a not be in
Yeah,
a working
but
position.
you think he's going to accept that? Do you want to piss off your investor? I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, it's
I don't
like
know.
they've put themselves in a very, very precarious situation.
Well,
So
an investor wants to make money, and they're losing money. They're going
Zlatan's
to be
richer
losing
than
money by
God.
keeping people like Zlatan.
Yeah, but
So I think
Zlatan is already, like, he's not going to lose his money at me. Like, they're not. No one's banging on Milan's door to buy, like, banging on their door to buy Milan. So it's not going to, like, he needs to have something to do, and they need to find a role for him. And I don't understand why they just don't make him. I understand that he also is the kind of character who wants to learn the business world. In that ridiculous quote where he talks about how Jerry Cardinale is the wolf of Wall Street, which is just mind-bendingly stupid thing to say. Equating the owner of your club with a convicted felon, because you think that he's cool because Hollywood is always right. With the I mean, that is the mental attitude that he's had all his life, and I get that it's helped him a lot. But at some point, you have to kind of adapt with the times, and he is trying to do that. This is what he wants to do. He wants to learn the business world. He wants to understand that, and Jerry Cardinale is his mentor, and blah 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 blah. I get all that, right? So he wants a proper job, and he doesn't want to just be a gimmick and a mascot. That's the one thing he can't. His pride won't accept. That's fine, but he can't be the boss at Milan. He just can't. He cannot. He's not ready to be that. I don't know if he'll ever be that. He certainly is not ready to be the big boss at Milan right now. He just isn't, and I think it's evident. And they need a proper boss at Milan. They need someone who, like that is the CEO of the sporting side,
yeah,
because this is an absolute
they
shitstorm.
need a CEO and they need a sporting director.
And then from then on, they can lay out a plan and hire key people to do key jobs. And I'm sure that in that environment, actually, I think Zlatan could do something for Milan. I really think that. I just think that with where he is in his career as a director, investor, blah, 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 or whatever you want to brand it, he can't be the leader. He doesn't have that experience. He doesn't have directorial experience. He was a fantastic footballer, one of the best of all time, if you will, in his position. But he is not a director. It just doesn't work like that. And he doesn't know, and all of Milan are confused generally. And he's trying to do what he used to do as a player to get out of it, and it's not working. It's just making people despise him and feel like he then becomes a symbol of something larger, which is not fair on him either.